North Carolina just lost a game in which they shot 58% from the field. That must mean the defense was really bad.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, January 15th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thank you for making us your first listener watch to get your Thursday going the right way after what was a terribly sad and frustrating Wednesday night. Special shout out to all the everydayers here with us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on the show today, we unfortunately, yes, have to continue to break down this loss at Stanford on Wednesday evening. So we'll talk some defense, obviously, because that was the big bugaboo yet again. And I'm going to hone in on one very specific thing with that. And so we'll get going with that. We'll get to the Four Corners recap of this game, including really low assist total. We'll look at a couple positive things, try to have some silver lining to take away. We'll get to our shady stat of the game. And I've got some good news for the postseason once the season is all said and done. So we'll get to all of that coming up today. Here's where we start. North Carolina loses at Stanford 95-90. They fall to 14-3 overall, 2-2 on the season. And here's what we got to recognize. This was not some surprise out of thin air. It's been building to this kind of moment where, for example, Saturday against Wake Forest, Carolina dodged the bullet. They had that lead, that double-digit lead. They were in good shape for about 30 minutes, and they ended up winning. Let's not forget that, but it sure didn't feel like it, and man, that was weird. So they escaped that landmine. And they've had a couple others like that where they just didn't perform well. They didn't put the hammer down. And yet again, here it came, and this time it jumped up and got him. So escaped Saturday, did not do that on Wednesday night. And if I can make it worse, by the way, Stanford did that on Wednesday without their second leading scorer, got 95 on Carolina. And it's so weird. Carolina had literally never lost to Stanford until they joined the ACC. The Tar Heels lost at home to Stanford last year, and then obviously just lost last night on the road. So it's a very frustrating result. There's no way around that. It's disappointing, but what we need to do then is we got out the emotion of it last night. The frustration of, my goodness, that was the live postcast on YouTube. This now is evaluating, all right, where are we at? What's going on? What is happening? And more importantly, how do we fix it and move on? Because yes, while it is so frustrating to lose these 2 out of 3, to drop these first 2 ACC road games, all hope is not lost. And so you got to turn your attention to what's next. And I know there's a lot of people. I scrolled through all the YouTube live comments last night when it was all said and done. Whole bunch of people asking me to say things that it's not the time to say yet. There are people looking for bigger conversations, and there are times and ways and places to have those, but it's not yet. So right now, I'm not going to focus on any of those things. I'm going to focus on how do we make the rest of this season the best it can be, because there's still a lot of great potential ahead. But there's a lot that's got to get fixed and changed and adjusted and updated and all of that, and that's where we look. So let's attack one specific defensive issue. And right now, the big glaring lights, the flashing lights, the thing right now is stopping opposing lead guards, or Carolina's inability to do so right now. In fact, this is one of the questions from the live YouTube chat. Derek Pereira asked Isaac, since conference play started, what are the numbers for opponents' guards against us? Let me start with the SMU loss. So I'm not going to go all the way back to Florida State, but I am going to do these last 3 games and give you the numbers for those guards. Boopie Miller from SMU, Nate Calmese from Wake Forest, and then last night, Ebuka Okorie from Stanford. So, in all of these, which, by the way, Seth Trimble has been in the lineup for these games. That's the other confounding thing, is it's like Seth's back and it's still happening. That's an issue. January 3rd against SMU, Boopie Miller, 33 points on 10 of 13 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 12 assists, 2 turnovers. January 10th against Wake Forest, Nate Calmese, 28 points, 10 of 16 from the field, 7 of 11 from 3, 1 of 2 at the free throw line, 9 assists, 3 turnovers. Last night, January 15th against Stanford, Ebuka Okorie, 36 points, 12 of 20 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 9 of 11 at the free throw line, 9 assists, and 1 turnover. I mean, that is a stretch unlike something I can ever remember seeing. Those 3 guards back to back to back, just carving up the Tar Heels, because it is about the points. Yes, 33, 28, and 36. It's about the efficiency, 10 of 13, 10 of 16, 12 of 20. They've all been over 50% from the field. They've all been over 50% from 3, 3 of 5, 7 of 11, 3 of 5. And so the points is a big thing. But the other thing, you guys, is that sometimes you're okay with a score going off so long as they're not affecting other players positively. And that was not the case, because all 3 of these guys had at least 9 assists and no more than 3 turnovers. You add it all up, it's 30 assists and just 6 turnovers from the lead guard in the last 3 games. What? Yeah, that's a 5-to-1 assist ratio that Carolina has faced. So it's not just the scoring, it's all of that. And I want to recognize, I mean, Ebuka Okorie in particular is a phenomenal basketball player. I was so impressed watching him. Unfortunately, he was on the other team, and I just didn't get to be a third-party observer enjoying his basketball capability. But there we go. So the assists and points combined, check this out. This is what really gets to me. Boopie Miller had 10 field goals he made and 12 assists. That means he was responsible for 22 of SMU's 36 field goals. Nate Calmese, 10 field goals, 9 assists. That means he was responsible for 19 of Wake's 31. And then Ebuka Okorie last night, responsible for 21 of Stanford's 32 field goals. So you add that all up, those 3 guards over the course of the last 3 games have been responsible for 62 of their team's 99 field goals. That's 62.6% of all offense in the last 3 games has been directly because of the lead guard and Carolina's inability to shut him down. When I started looking at all those numbers after the game last night, I was like, good night. Like, I knew it was bad and I knew these guards had gone off, but I didn't realize how consistently it had been efficient, how consistently they had been great playmakers and low turnover men as well in the midst of that, while each of them dropping over 25 points, 33, 28, and 20, 36, excuse me. So that's where it starts. That's the thing. You have to cut off the head of the snake. And yes, there's other guys that have exposed Carolina a little bit. But the thing is that if you stop Boopie Miller, if you stop Nate Calmese, if you stop Ebuka Okorie, it's not going to, or at least, I mean, you're not going to stop those guys. They're too good. That's just be frank with that. But if you can limit them, man, that could do wonders for you. Carolina's been unable to. So that is the thing to watch going forward. Carolina against the opposing, lead scoring guard. So Day Ames versus Cal on Saturday is their leading. He's their 2 guard, but he's their leading scorer. How does Carolina handle him? He's probably going to get 30 million That's what's going to happen. So the points are bad, but again, it's everything that these guys have been doing. The assist to turnover ratio is equally, if not even more bad than all the points allowed. In big picture with that, then it feels like each of these last 3 games should have been a wake-up call. The SMU game's like, oh man, gross. The Wake Forest game, even though it was a win, that should have been a massive wake-up call. This game here, that last night, Carolina losing at Stanford, should be a massive wake-up call. That remains to be seen. But the issue is one of 2 things, either of which in my book are not good. Either these 3 back-to-back most recent games haven't been a wake-up call. That's one problem. But I think they have been. And that's the other issue is it has been a wake-up call, but it hasn't mattered because Carolina has been, I know they've been working to make some defensive adjustments. They threw a whole bunch. I just knocked my water. They threw a whole bunch of different defensive looks at Ebuka Okorie, and it just didn't matter. And so there's all of that. So either Carolina hasn't had a wake-up call and hasn't adjusted, or they have and it's not working. Either of those 2 options are bad. And if there is a small positive, it's that in all 3 losses, Michigan State, SMU, and now Stanford, Carolina's had opportunities, whether it was holding a 7-point lead against Michigan State, whether it was the 12-point lead on multiple occasions last night. So that's the positive thing is the opportunities have been there. Last night at Stanford, Carolina led for 37 minutes and 56 seconds out of the 40 minutes of a game. They trailed for a whopping 95 seconds last night. But it doesn't matter because all the scoreboard looks at and all the record book looks at for wins and losses is what happens when the clock moves from 1 second to 0 second. That's the only second you have to lead. You could trail for 39-59, but if you take a lead on that last second, you win. And so it doesn't matter that Carolina basically dominated time of possession, if you'll allow me that. And so if that's the positive of it, the negative of it, though, is why can't you close? What is it? The lulls offensively, the inability to stop people on defense, the free throw problems. I mean, there's a multitude of things we could point to and identify. The question now is, what do you do with it and how do you move forward? All right, we got to get to our 4 corners recap of this game where Carolina was held to a season low in assists. It's something SMU does, but still, Carolina hurt because of it. We'll get to that in the 4 corners recap in just a second. Right after I tell you about game time, y'all, there's nothing like college football season. The tailgates, packed stadiums, being right there in the middle of it all, the energy, the bands, the moments you remember, but actually getting tickets, that's the crazy, frustrating part, or at least it used to be before game time came along. Man, everything you had to deal with, man, no, don't give me that anymore. That's why game time is giving the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets in just a few taps. So maybe you're wanting to get down to Miami, go to the national championship game on Monday. You've still got time. I was tracking tickets earlier in the week. I had to do this ad read for another thing, and the lowest price was $3,112. It's down over $300 now. You can get in for $2,807. Still a steep price, but it has come down significantly just from 2 or 3 days ago. So keep your eyes on it as it gets closer to kickoff. I love that the Game Time app is so easy to use. I can go from browsing to buying in just a few minutes. I also love their zone deals option where I pick the zone, they pick the specific seat, and it's a way to save even more money. So take the guesswork out of buying college football and basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thanks again for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. It means a ton, and it's all because of you guys. And if you guys that are a massive part of this want to go even deeper with the show, check out the brand new everydayers club that Locked On is offering you. There's 2 different tiers to it. The link for that's in the show note. Would love for you to check it out. Four Corners recap. Here we go. Number 1 is assists. One of the things I said in the Four Corners preview is that Stanford is 3rd in the ACC in fewest assists per game allowed. They just do a good job of slowing you down, forcing you to play one-on-one for whatever reason it is. And I got to be honest, I thought, okay, cool. Carolina's going to cook that. They'll be fine. No. Carolina came in with an assist percentage of 62.3. Stanford, by virtue of what they just did to Carolina, took it back under 60%. Carolina is now, their assist percentage is now 59.7% for the season. Carolina had a season low 7 assists in this game, just the second time all season they've been in single digits, and it was their lowest single game assist percentage by far. 7 assists on 32 made baskets. That's 21.9%. The previous low was 42.9%. That was the only other game with single digits, and that game was 21 percentage points higher than this one. That is just how much Stanford did to stop Carolina and force them to play one-on-one, which is not necessarily where these Tar Heels shine. And so congrats, Stanford. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap. One of the things I was looking at was free throws in terms of Stanford. Carolina holds their opponents to about 15. Stanford is taking about 25 free throws a game. And so my goal was right smack dab in the middle or lower. Let's hold Stanford to 20 free throw attempts or less. Carolina did not do that. Stanford was able to get 23 shots. They made 15 of them. Thankfully, they were struggling a little bit at the line like Carolina, so that helped keep the Tar Heels in it some. But they were up over that magic number that I had put out of 20, 15 of 23. And so that led to Carolina's downfall. So did Carolina's own free throw shooting, which has been an issue season long. Carolina, yet again, 20 of 32 from the free throw line, which is 62.5%. So yes, I love that Carolina got to the line 32 times. Could have been 33. There was a missed front end of a 1-and-1 late. But here's what you need to think. This game was so tight that had Carolina made 3, 4, 5 more of those, which still you're below 80% for the game, but even just putting themselves that much further ahead would have done wonders. Wonders. So Carolina, though, doesn't. Consequently, free throws come back to bite them. And I think this is the first time when it's like you legitimately would have won if you weren't shooting 62.5% from the free throw line. It's going to continue to bite Carolina, but that was a biggie last night. Your inability to make free throws literally cost you a win, because I truly believe Carolina wins that game if they've knocked down 3, 4, 5 more free throws. Number 3 in the Four Corners recap, a positive takeaway. Carolina dominated offensive rebounding, and there just wasn't much of it, if we're being honest, in this game. So it's not like they got up to 20, but they got 8. But in a game where Stanford only got 2, that is domination. Also domination, Stanford they only had 2 offensive rebounds, but they couldn't score off of either of them. So Carolina wins second chance points 13-0. That's encouraging. Now, there were a couple times when Carolina needed to be stronger with their rebounds. There was a play late in the game where Henri Veesaar got an offensive rebound, but it was just kind of stolen away from him. I thought that it could have been a foul. No foul was called. You got to be strong till the whistle blows. That's the deal, and Carolina couldn't do it. So good job on the offensive glass. Really nice by Carolina, but again, ultimately not enough. Number 4 in the Four Corners recap. Carolina very quickly into the second half, and I guess I should specify Caleb Wilson very specifically in the second half, dispelled all of those. What's up with your production lately in the second half, Caleb Wilson? Rumors, or not rumors, but just conversation that we were all having following the last 2 games, where Caleb took a combined 5 field goal attempts in the last 2 games, including just 2 last week against Wake Forest. And so it had to grow. Well, the good news is Caleb put that to bed. He had three for three from the field out of the gate. He had a personal 8-0 run on Stanford. And I must admit, that was where I let my heart and mind start thinking and believing like, we got this game. Caleb's pushing it out. Carolina's built their double-digit lead back. Oh, now they're up 12. Got it. Golden. Not the case. Not the case at all, unfortunately. And so, but Caleb did get 3 field goal attempts, made all of them in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Took more field goal attempts in that 2.5 minutes than he did in the entirety of the second half of the Wake game. That's really good. Caleb went nuclear in the second half of this game. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. 20 points on 8 of 8 shooting and 4 of 7 at the free throw line. That was part of the issue. But Caleb, really, really good. I think we can. There are several things we can't put to bed yet. But what we can put to bed is that the Caleb not doing well in the second half narrative. That's over immediately now. All right, so there you go. There's the Four Corners recap. We still got to get to the shady stat of the game, and I got some good news about the transfer portal, for you, all coming up in just a second. Time for the shady stat of the game, and it's kind of another sad one, but I think is revealing of more of Carolina's defensive struggles lately. We are discussing the three-point shooting of Carolina's last 3 opponents. So same thing we talked about with those point guards. Well, three-point shooting is true too. And honestly, it's not some random coincidence. If those guys are having such good games and they're drawing so much gravity, you remember what I told you about their assist numbers? Well, yeah, because they're drawing a lot of attention. They're able to kick out for wide open looks, and Carolina's cooked because of it. 3-point field goal percentage of the last 3 opponents combined is 44 of 90, which is 44.4%. SMU shot 14 of 27. Wake Forest 14 of 35. And then Stanford 16 of 28 on Wednesday night, which is obviously a season high for allowed by Carolina. Not only a season high, but a Hubert Davis era high. Yes, that's how crazy this has gotten. Let me remind, I know several of these games in non-con play were not the same level of opponent, but half of them were. Non-con opponents in those 13 games averaged 6.2 made threes per game. ACC opponents in these first 4 games are averaging 14. So non-con 6.2, conference play 14. That means that in conference play, Carolina's opponents have more than doubled the amount of three-pointers per game made against Carolina. That ain't good. And here's the one that I was tracking. I had even put out on Twitter that this was kind of the thing I was going to be looking at and watching for in the game. Was through the first 13 games of the season, which is the non-conference slate, just 2 of Carolina's opponents, that was Kansas, that was USC Upstate, hit double-digit threes. 12 against Kansas, 10 against USC Upstate. Literally, the other 11 didn't get there. That's how you get to that 6.2 threes per game number that we were just talking about. But in ACC play, get this. Again, 2 of 13 non-con teams got to double-digit threes. Carolina's played 4 ACC games. All 4 opponents have made it to double-digit threes. It's gone 12, 14, 14, 16. And I don't know if you remember, but threes number 15 and 16 were the dagger to the heart Wednesday night against Stanford when they went up by 4. Gosh, and it was in the midst of those turnovers. You know, Carolina just committing some careless turnovers down the stretch of that game. Man, what do you do? You got to get stuff figured out. You got to turn over a new leaf. You cannot sit by and watch this season pass you by. You got to get stuff figured out. All right, there's the shady stat of the game for you. Last thing I want to share with you is I was wearing my wife's sunglasses. I'm sure those looked absolutely ridiculous. I'm seeing what they look like now. Oh my gosh. Anyway, some great news on Wednesday coming from the NCAA. Usually when we're talking about the NCAA, we're talking about not so great things. And so when they do things right, I want to applaud them and say thank you for doing a very sensible thing. And that's exactly what happened here. On Wednesday, NCAA PR announces that effective immediately, meaning this season, the basketball transfer portal for both men and women's will not open until after the national championship. You might remember that the first 2 years of this thing getting like really, really wacky, they opened it the day after the field was announced, after March Madness was announced. So that first Monday was when they opened it 2 years ago. Last year, they waited till after the Elite Eight games were over. And then now is the sensible decision. Let's move it to after the season is done. I love that for a player standpoint. I love that for coach's standpoint. I love it from my standpoint as somebody that covers this. Why? Because then I can just focus on covering the tournament. And when the tournament is done, then we can go whoop and put our full attention into the transfer portal, both here for me on Locked On Tar Heels and at the national level when I do Locked On College Basketball. And so I cannot tell you the number of times I have begged and pleaded and asked for this change to happen. And I'm not saying that I affected the change. This is a thing that multitudes of people have asked for it because it's asinine the way it used to be. And so now this puts things in a much better shape. It is going to shrink yet again. Remember, each year it's like the duration has gone down, and that's going to happen again from 30 days down to 15 days. So it will open, I'm assuming, basically midnight of Tuesday, the changeover from Monday's national championship into Tuesday. I'm assuming Monday is the official open. They didn't really specify that in their press release, which I read because I'm a nerd. But all the same, this is great news for college basketball. This is great news for coaching staffs and GMs and everybody as they try to figure things out. All right, you guys, that's it for today's show. Tomorrow on the Friday show, we will get ready for the second game of the California Swing. No sweep for the Tar Heels. Oh, sad day. But that'll be going to Cal on Saturday afternoon. Coach Rob will be with me to unpack it. So we're going to have to definitely get his takes on some of this and where it's at as well. If you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it now so you don't miss that show or when we go live after the game on Saturday or anything else. Hit that bell notification so you get notified when we go live. If you haven't joined the Locked On Everydayers Club, now's a great opportunity to just at least look into it, see if it's something that might interest you. Also, if you've not joined our Discord, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, it's a great community of Tar Heel fans that just want to hang out and talk Tar Heels. It's so much fun. Come join us. Links in the show notes. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow to get ready for the weekend. But until then, peace.